na munisikiza vizuri, na hii mtaiona in the next few weeks. Na naongeaga hii maneno kwa sababu nimefanya kazi na hawa watu. Ukiona wanakohoa hivi, unajua ni muongo inatafutwa. Ukiona wanajishika hapa, unajua iko kitu inapangwa. The oil prices, let me put it this way. We have seen what is happening in Iran and the instability there. And I know that EPRA, ile ambayo ni ya serikali, wanaongezaga bei ya mafuta. Washaelezwa wakiongeza bei ya mafuta, waongeze hata mingi kuliko ile imeongeza in the global market prices. And I want to tell the government and EPRA, work with statistics. In the year 2022, when this government was elected, petrol and diesel prices in Kenya were at the same rate they were hivi karibuni hapa Kenya. Whereas the global oil prices per barrel in the year 2022 was above $100 per barrel. The oil prices are currently at that level now, globally. By the way, it was much lesser. EPRA munajua ya kwamba ukiongeza bei ya mafuta Kenya, lazima unamaliza consignment ile ilikuja kwa bei ya chini. So as Kenyans, we do not expect EPRA waanze kuhadaa wa Kenya na kuongeza bei ya mafuta, kwa sababu bei ya mafuta ya from the month of March up to April ni mafuta ambayo ililetwa Kenya kabla bei ya mafuta globally ianze kupanda. Kwa hivyo ile ukora mnapanga ya kuongeza bei ya mafuta this week, tutaonana na nyinyi. Ya pili, the government introduced the reason why, na muangalia hivi, mafuta ikishuka globally, ilitoka $100 billion per barrel, ikashuka hata $54 per barrel. Wakenya hawakuona ikishuka, walikuwa inateremshwa na shilingi na shilingi mbili, haikiteremuka vile mafuta globally iliteremuka. Kwa sababu gani? Kwa sababu in the first 2 years, serikali wakaongeza VAT katika mafuta ya 8%. Kitambo ilikuwa 8%, wakaongeza 8%, now it is 16%. Alafu in the year 2024, immediately after the protests, serikali wenyewe wakaongeza fuel levy ya shilingi 7. Walitime vile mafuta ilikuwa inashuka, wakaongeza shilingi 7. Sasa nataka niwaeleze my friends, sasa mafuta haishuki tena, inapanda. Hiyo shilingi 7 mliongeza ya fuel levy na VAT, a time has come, you must remove it, kwa sababu you cannot transfer the rise in prices entirely to consumers. Vile mulisukisa mafuta na shilingi 1 kama peremende, vile ilikuwa inashuka zaidi katika global market prices. Hata saa hii sasa imeanza kupanda. Msitupe Kiswahili. VAT muondoe ile ya 8%. Na ile fuel levy ya shilingi 7, lazima ile ilisainiwa na minister in the last quarter of 2024. It has to be removed, because I know you are planning either this week or in the next month. Mnajaribu ati mkuja muambia wa Kenya mnaongeza mafuta kwa over 10 shillings per liter, ati muanza kusema ni Iran. Mnaongezaje bei ya mafuta haraka, na ikishuka mna take months kushukisha? Ikishuka mnachukua muda, ikipanda mnataka mkuja na time waseme, oh mnaona Iran vile kunaenda, tunaongeza bei ya mafuta. Mtakapata my friends. Na maundu ma ndirauga ri ni mukumona, nie ndimonagera 18 nikio muonaga ona ndamera uhoro mamba guthie kwihariria goka ku respond, tondu maramenya uria ndirauga niguo. Ona menda ndimere micemanio ria maracemania ya uhoro wa maguta no ria magukonia andu a Kenya na maguta, menda ndimere niku maracemanitie, nie ni ngumera, tondu onacio marabanga nao matirenda, onacio marabanga nao kunyiriria andu a Kenya onao wenyewe matirenda.
Okera tene todi tore kura sasa sai okera itene kumekucha, abukeni mapema, endeni mulipe tax. Maaskari wengi walikuwa naamuka mapema, leo ni siku ya kimbi, twende tupige hao. Abukeni mapema, ukienda kukatwa tax.
to allay the fears that are being spread by people that there will be an increase in electricity costs, I want to assure the country that we removed subsidies in August. There will be no additional charges today or going into the future on electricity bills to the people of Kenya. We are conducting a whole review of tariffs of all our energy requirements. And in 3 months' time, we will have public consultation to ensure that we have tariffs that are sensitive to those at the with minimum earnings, to ensure that those at the bottom of the pyramid are not affected, and to ensure that we can support our manufacturers. Contrary to the stories being peddled around that there will be job losses, there will be additional cost of living, those are just people who are speculators. Let me assure the country that we have already made the right decisions on ensuring that we have a predictable platform on how to run our economy. There will be no additional costs on electricity. We have already taken care of all the subsidies that we removed in August, and we are going to ensure that our manufacturers, our value addition processors, and all Kenyans, including those on lifeline tariff, are taken into consideration as we review the tariffs going into the future.
The Middle East is at war, triggered by the US-Israel airstrikes on Iran. Now, East Africa is facing significant economic turbulence since it relies heavily on imported petroleum. Brent crude prices have jumped sharply since the airstrikes began.
We anticipate an increase in the cost of fuel. But I'm also certain, as we've had also some information from the Uganda National Oil Company, that the country has enough stock to shoulder us for some time.
Kenya has assured its citizens that it has enough war reserves to last at least 2 months. But can the East African region cope with a prolonged war in the Middle East? Welcome to the flip side. The Strait of Hormuz is a key shipping route for oil-producing nations in the Gulf, used to transport oil and gas to East Africa and other global markets. Now, Iran has threatened to set ablaze any ship that passes through its strategic passageway. The escalating war has disrupted global petroleum supplies, leading to immediate pump price increases across Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and many other African countries. As South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa warned, the continent is already hurting from the war. So can East Africa do anything about it? Let's not forget that a UN Commission of Inquiry has condemned the attacks by Israel and the United States on Iran, saying they violate the UN Charter. Back to East Africa. If the war continues, inflation, supply chain disruptions, and economic hardship are likely to intensify across the region. So, is it all doom and gloom, or can the bloc cushion its citizens from the war's effect?
Quite positive, given that our heads of state will be meeting in Arusha later this week for the East African states heads of state summit. And I'm positive that part of the issue that will be discussed is going to be how to manage the shock, the logistical shock that is going to come as an effect of the conflict within the greater Middle East.
This is not East Africa's war. But at such a critical moment, East African leaders must step up for their citizens, stand in solidarity, improve overland transport corridors, and accelerate the expansion of regional fuel storage. In the meantime, many remain stranded as they await evacuation.
Not only Ugandans, but there are many other international citizens that are stuck in the middle of a war that they did not even prepare for, or a war where they were not even, in conflict with anyone else. So I believe it is something that is really absurd and is affecting many people.
While fully offsetting the cost of this war isn't possible, East African leaders can blunt its impact. Kenya, for example, has proactively secured fuel supply lines and monitored stocks to prevent shortages. This helps stabilize local markets even as global prices rise. But this alone does not reduce the cost itself. Governments can use measures like targeted subsidies for public transport, short-term tax relief on fuel imports, and tighter monetary policy to contain inflation. These tools can temporarily reduce citizens' pain. Most importantly, leaders must stand united and say no to the war in the Middle East.
It is absurd, and I think countries need to start thinking about how these things affect other relations when they go into war and start speaking the language of peace.
And that's the flip side.
Do you know why they're dumping oil into the ground? It's not pollution. It's a business. In Iran, a gallon of fuel costs less than 80 cents, but in Pakistan's black market, it sells for $24. That's over 30 times the profit. No trucks, no highways, not even border checkpoints. They found a new route, underground. Over 2,000 trucks rely on this system every day. Millions of gallons of fuel flow from Iran to Pakistan, vanishing into the dirt. Locals tap into abandoned oil wells and old pipelines, pour diesel in and build up pressure. On the other end, the fuel flows back out. These pipelines were abandoned, but now they're the arteries of the black market. Across more than 560 miles of border, these underground routes are busier than the official ones. Pakistan loses over $800 million in taxes every year. But fuel is only the beginning. Anything illegal can follow the same path. An economic loophole turning into a security crisis. Clever or dangerous? If this secret pipeline ran under your backyard, what would you do?
Usinibo, like ustedi ukiwa proxy kila pedi kwa nadoka weni ngombe ustena goat milioni kwanza na bob, zile pipa tumedodge kila mchoro wanza na dot naongeza skari mingi, waulize to sky the limit ili video nyeshe tiris niapatiwe degree simanishi chebi kisema lishi kamili ile pressure kubwa niko nayo.
Selector Deno